Kakalosh Boker Tov, Shavua Tov. We're continuing with halachot of whether it's after the Bedikat Chametz or Chametz Shavar Lava Pesach. First of all, there's halacha that lichatechila, obviously a person should try to clean their teeth, right, after Sudat Shachrit on the 14th in the morning, just in case there's going to be in between the teeth, there's going to be any type of a chametz, and then he's going to eat it during the time of the Yisur, and especially if a person is going to have, whether it's going to be holes or any other things, so then it would also be shayach. But b'diavad, if a person didn't do so for sure it's got a tam lifgam, it's got a negative taste after a few hours, and therefore there won't be a problem b'diavad. But lechatechila, a person should clean their mouth out, they should brush their teeth, right after the time that they ate chametz, so therefore there's no chametz involved. The people that have the fake teeth, right, or dentures or things like that, so therefore he says over here that mitzad adin, they just wash them, but they do not need to do hagalah. So they don't have to start putting them in hot boiling water, right? And if a person wants to do irui from a kli rishon, it's already enough, but he doesn't have to do that more than that. But he says the same halacha would apply if he has any type of teeth, whether they're made out of silver or gold or whatever it is. Also the same halacha would apply. Now chametz on the 14th, already after the 6th hour onwards, is sur min Torah, whether it's eating it or benefiting from it. Chachamim came and they added on 2 hours beforehand, and in Hana'ah they added 1 hour beforehand. And therefore it's a sur to eat chametz on the 14th, already from after 4 hours into the day, which is a third into the day, and Hana'ah after going to be 5th hour. So he comes and he says from the beginning, that's what he says, Sha'ach HaMishit, you're allowed to sell it to a goy, or to give it, whether it's going to be to an animal, right? He says as long as you're going to make sure that they're not going to take it anywhere else. Okay, so he comes and he says, since at the beginning of the 6th hour, it's already it's a sur bana'ah midivrei sofrim, so therefore we have to do the bitul beforehand. And therefore that once it becomes a sur bana'ah, right, then it doesn't help anymore the bitul, because once you're not allowed to benefit from it, you can't start annulling it. You're only going to annul it when it's yours. After it becomes a sur bana'ah, you're not allowed to. So therefore he comes and it says we're going to do this already from Sha'ot Zmaniot, from Amud HaShachar until Tzedek Kochavim, and not like from the Netzach Hama until Shekiah. Remember that there's two different shitot. There's the shita of the Magen Avraham. Magen Avraham says that how do we calculate Sha'ot Zmaniot? We take from the Amud HaShachar, Alot HaShachar, right, which is dawn until dusk, until Tzedek Kochavim. According to the Gaon Mivilna and the Shulchan Aruch HaGaz, what you're supposed to do is you take from the Netz until Shekiah. You're taking from sunrise to sunset. So because of the two different opinions, obviously, there's going to be a difference in how much is a Sha'az Manit. Always the Shitat Magen Avraham, every Sha'az Manit is longer than what it is the Sha'az Manit of the Gaon Mivilna. Accordingly, that's why you have that according to the Gaon, the time of Kriyat Shema is always going to be later. If you pay attention, we always have the second time of Kriyat Shema, right, in the bulletin or anywhere else, or the same time with Sof Zman Tfilah of the Gaon. It's always going to be different than the one of the Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham is always going to be earlier because first of all, the Sha'ot Zmaniot is longer, right? Which means that he's going to take a longer because you're counting more in the day as day, and then you have to split it up into 12. Plus, you're always starting from Alot HaShachar. So, for example, Sof Zman Kriyat Shema, you're doing 3 hours after Alot HaShachar. According to the Gaon Mivilna, it's 3 hours after Netz. So that's why it's always going to be a longer time. Shulchan Aruch is actually posek like the Magen Avraham. So that's why the Mishabura brings this down. And therefore, according to Sfaradim, we should always try to be machmir like Magen Avraham and not like the Gaon. But the Gaon is b'diavad, that if a person already passed, so you still have what to rely on, you have the Gaon Mivilna, which is going to be a different Sha'ot Zmaniot. So because of that, he comes and he says here that we should always try to do like the Magen Avraham. That's what he's saying, that we should try to do it from the Alot HaShachar. And Amud HaShachar is going to be an hour and a quarter before the Netzach Hama, right? And therefore a person should just be very, very careful, because that means the times of the Chametz are going to be different. And that's why if you actually look at my Zmanim, it actually has 3 different times. It's got like, the end time of eating. Again, it's got Magen Avraham, it's got the Gaon Mivilna. The end time of the Hana'av, the benefiting, which means you have to sell the Chametz beforehand, right? Magen Avraham and Gaon Mivilna. So therefore a person should be very careful in what they're doing. Now, if somebody leaves Chametz in their possession, and they do not sell the chametz, they annul the mitzvah tasev tashmitu sor b'matechem, and they are going to transgress a negative commandment of lo yiralecha chametz, that you should not find chametz. So because of that, a person should be very careful, and that's the reason why after Pesach we have to be careful where do we purchase our products. Because if the product was not sold properly, right, with the rabbanim, that they know what they're doing, so then what happens is that it was not considered sold. It's not considered sold. It's chametz shavar of Pesach. Once it's chametz, which transgresses the Yisur of Pesach, you're not allowed to buy from that merchandise for a minimum of 30 days after Pesach, and that's why it's so important, these halachot, because we have to understand what exactly is done. How is the sale done? The sale is not just that you come and you tell a friend, listen, you're buying my chametz. It's not a sale. A sale has to be done with all the kinyanim, all the acquisitions, the forms of acquisitions which are known to the rabbis to do with the goy, because there's a question, what exactly form of acquisition can a goy do? And because of that, by Ilchot Pesach, we do every form of acquisition possible, right, in the halacha, in order to ascertain that be'emet the goy actually acquired the chametz and they belong to the goy. So therefore, it's important to just pay attention to these rules, and we'll continue B'ezrat Hashem.